Hello and welcome to the Our New Gold Festival. Thank you all for being here. My name is Dr. Erin Cowling, and I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes about why we study the Commedia in the 21st century. As a professor and scholar of early modern Spanish theater, the question of why the Commedia for the here and now for our students has something that I've been actively considering for at least 6 or 7 years, perhaps on a subconscious level for a lot longer. And I know that there are some of you here with us today who have been at this for much longer than even I. Personally, I've been drawn to the commedia as a genre ever since I had the good fortune to take a summer course as an undergraduate in Almagro 20 years ago this summer, in which we would watch plays at night and discuss them with the professors and other students during the day.
While everyone in this room now knows precisely why the Commedia can be a fascinating and moving work of art, it can be a challenge to explain it to the uninitiated. Even our own students often complain something written 400 plus years ago must be boring. Perhaps even some of the students participating today wondered at one point why their professors were making them read such old, boring texts. Traditionally, these plays have been studied within their historical and cultural contexts, and of course, these are still important considerations. Puente Ovejuna, for example, is quite possibly the most famous of the historical plays of the early modern period, capturing not only the anxieties of a recently formed country, but also the emerging class consciousness of those groups that had, up till then, had little recourse against the abuses of the nobility. Read within its own socio-political context, we can catch glimpses into the formation of Spain under the Catholic kings as they fought to unite the various regions under one crown. Still, written more than a century after the events at Fuente Ovejuna, the author did not have direct knowledge of the unification process, but rather lived in a Spain that had been united several decades before his birth. His use of the historical events, therefore, could already be considered what we call a refundición, or an adaptation of the incidents portrayed on stage. In recent years, however, we've seen a shift. The Association for Hispanic Classical Theater, which has gathered scholars in El Paso, Texas every year until recently, thanks COVID, to discuss the plays and their performances alongside one of the only Spanish language festivals of theater available to North American scholars at the Chamizal National Park. This year, we will reunite for the first time since 2019 in Almagro, Spain, and you guys will all be a part of that. Much like my original Almagro experience, this mixture of scholarship during the day and playgoing at night not only allows for us as scholars to gather with like-minded academics and talk abstractly about our work, but it also grants us the joyous experience of seeing these plays brought to life before us by acting troupes from around the world. We then get to interact with actors and directors that are keeping the spirit of the Golden Age Spain alive. It was at one of those conferences that many of us first met Paulo Rodriguez as part of Teatro en Verso and their indigenous adaptation of La Vida es Sueño, Rosaura. It can be easier for us as scholars to critique these works, and often the critiques cry for fidelity to the original. The costumes are all wrong. Why would you want to change the time period, et cetera, et cetera? Sometimes these critiques are valid, but they're also complacent. They can be a nostalgic longing for something that none of us could have ever known. Now, with this festival, Our New Gold, and the initiation of this new and exciting group of students of the early modern stage and its contemporary adaptations, we're seeing just how misguided these critiques can often be. At the HCT in 2016, I also had the good fortune, or sort of dumb luck, to be asked to review an unknown Lope de Vega play put on by an acting troupe I had never heard of before. It was El Príncipe Inocente by F3 Teatro from Mexico City. As I read their ambitious proposal for the staging, I decided that I needed to read the play, one that I and many scholars I had spoken to beforehand had not heard mention of anywhere else. I requested a copy from my library, and as I began reading, my concerns grew. It was a complicated and very convoluted early Lope play, which are not known for being his best works. And FA3 were planning to stage it in a most minimalist style with only 2 actors and a scarcity of props. But they pulled it off, and with such style that I and many of my colleagues were left completely renewed and invigorated by the experience. The following year, we were treated to a similarly reviving performance of Rosaura. It was after that experience that myself and a few of my conference goers decided we were going to take a new approach to our research. It became and is still our mission to bring Commedia studies into the 21st century. In every project, I now contemplate the question of how and why this is or could be relevant to a contemporary audience or classroom. It is no longer pertinent for us to sit in isolated towers and write critiques that do not take into account the perspective and lives lived of those who are both staging and viewing performances. We cannot hope to remain relevant if we are not willing and able to see the connections between that era and our own. To that end, a group of us, including some of the professors you see here today, have worked together to share our ideas and teaching materials. We read each other's work and discuss our experiences in the classroom. This is rarely heard of in the humanities. Unlike the sciences, where more often than not, papers are co-authored by multiple scientists around the world, in the humanities, we hardly ever interact with each other outside the formality of conference presentations and department meetings. One of the main outcomes to this new collaborative approach is a co-edited book, which you see behind me, Social Justice in Golden Age Theater. Another is the opportunity that has brought us together today. Working with artists has become a driving force behind our work, and Paula Rodriguez is a force unto herself. Without her and the student workers behind the scenes, this contest and festival would not have come to pass. But it is the possibilities that these collaborative efforts afford our students and our artistic colleagues that make the work worthwhile. The purpose of Our New Gold, which I'll leave to Paula to explain more in depth since it really was her idea, is brilliant in its simplicity: to find ways to bring the Golden Age text to life and to have our students create adaptations that speak to their lived experiences. The 21st century university and the students that embody them are more than diverse than ever, much to our great joy and benefit. And they, yes, all of you, are key to understanding how these texts are timeless, creating connections between their lives and those of the characters on the early modern stage. It is only in working alongside this new generation of scholars that we can expect our field to continue to shine. If we want the Commedia to survive in the 21st century and beyond, we need to be proactive. From my perspective, collaboration, both within the Academy and with artists, and the recontextualization for new audiences and the budding Commedia scholars potentially sitting in our classrooms and on this Zoom call are the best way forward. Thank you. Paula, would you like to explain to us a little more about how this festival came to be?
Yes, Erin, thank you very much. Well, first of all, I would like to voice my appreciation for my colleagues, Professor Glenda Nieto, Professor Erin Cowling, and producer Lorenzo Papagallo, for trusting me with this initiative and for all their hard work to make it happen. Thank you very much. We have a really amazing team. I'm very, very proud of us. So I also would like to thank the mentors. I believe some of them are here today. Thanks for encouraging and supporting your students to participate. Margaret Boyle from Bowdoin College, Maria Jose Dominguez, Arizona State University, Ana Mendez Oliver, Syracuse University, Glenda Nieto Cuevas, Ohio Wesley University, John Bustering, Texas Tech University, Ted Berman, University of St. Andrews, Scotland. Thanks to our sponsors and supporters, the Association of Hispanic Classical Theatre, AHCT, Ohio Wesleyan University, McEwan University, and Expert Teatro, Festival Internacional de Teatro Clásico de Almagro, Teatro de la Abadía, Madrid, and Cervantes Theatre, London. Many thanks to every member of the jury, Susan Pau de Garcia, past president of the Association for Hispanic Classical Theatre, Ignacio Garcia, director of the Almagro International Classical Theatre Festival, Paula Paz, co-founder and artistic director of the Cervantes Theatre, Taz Emiabata, learning consultant for Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, Natalie B. Wong, director and performance maker, co-founder of Orange Collective, Juan Ayala, director, dramaturg, performer, and designer, associate artist at Teatro de la Abadía, Courtney Knipp and Brian Granger, assistant professors at Ohio Wesleyan University. Your collaboration has been incredibly generous and indispensable. Thank you very much. And finally, many thanks to the students who have participated in this, our first international edition of Our New Gold Digital Storytelling Festival 2022. We are absolutely thrilled with the quality of all entries we have received in this, our first year. More than 30 participants from 9 different institutions around the world, including Latin America, Spain, the USA, and the UK. An incredible response for a festival that has just started. For over 5 years, I have been collaborating with academics internationally, directing productions, running workshops, giving talks and master classes, and developing commissioned projects as an artist and as a pedagogue, working with a wide range of students on reinventing the text of the Spanish Golden Age from a socio-political perspective, relevant and accessible in today's world. Every time, with every new group, I find myself surprised again about how easy it is for young students to engage with these classical stories and find their own stories in them. The first edition of our New Gold Digital Theatre Festival 2021 was funded by an Ohio Wesley Theory and Practice grant and featured a group of talented students. Jasmine Liu, Fiona Hansen, and Marcos Crespo are the real engine and inspiration for the festival. Fiona is now part of our New Gold team since she is assisting us with the social media promotion. So many thanks to her for her hard and creative work also. Last year, we worked online via Zoom due to the extraordinary circumstances we have been through. And we use this platform creatively, leading to many discoveries. The rise in the use of technology that we are experiencing and we experienced during the pandemic also nourished our curiosity to find new formats that could serve our artistic purpose. And although I myself am in constant conflict with technology, I'm questioning technology, as an artist, I am exploring how to embrace the fact that virtuality is now part of our world, especially for young generations. And I am now convinced that using the devices and platforms that technology offers us for creative purposes becomes a powerful tool for students' engagement, creativity, and development when approaching Spanish Golden Age theater in the classroom. My motivation as a creator is to reclaim this place globally and to keep them alive today. Another important aspect of this process is translation, which I am also exploring in innovative ways as a creator. Translation plays an essential role in the international scope of our festival, Our New Gold. Working with the authors of the Spanish Golden Age, such as Ana Caro, Cervantes, and Calderón de la Barca, among many others, brings us closer together today. And from them, we remember and relearn the bonds which makes us human. And without further ado, let me introduce you to the protagonists of today, our participants. All entries will be available to watch on our website until the 27th of June. I strongly recommend you to watch all of them because every piece has a unique story to tell. We are overwhelmed with the immense creativity of all the participants in this edition. So next, Erin will read the list of our finalists, and then she will introduce you to our special mentions. And then I will introduce you to our winners. So now I will pass it to Erin again.
Thank you, Paula. And thank all of you for your fabulous entries. As Paula said, there were so many and so creative. I don't know how the jury actually made their decisions. I mean, I do, but it's hard to imagine how difficult a task that was. So here's the list of the pieces that made it into the final round. First was Izzy Daly, Ohio Wesleyan University. The title of the piece was El Perro del Hortelano, La Confrontación, of course, inspired by El Perro de Hortelano by Lope de Vega. The next was by Nikidra Nisbet from Arizona State University. The piece is titled Cervantes el Viejo Celoso, inspired by the Entre Mes, El Viejo Celoso by Miguel de Cervantes. The third finalist was by Jessa Nelson and Brooklyn Buck, Ohio Wesleyan University. The title of the piece was El Perro del Hortelano, Gossip Girl edition, inspired, of course, by El Perro del Hortelano by Lope de Vega. Next, we have Ashley Arian, Arizona State University. This piece was titled A New Version of Calderon's La Dama Duende, inspired by La Dama Duende by Pedro Calderón de la Barca. And then finally, we have two more finalists, Jonathan Lee from Bowdoin College. The piece is called Trapped or Atrapado, and it was inspired by El Perro del Hortelano. And Brian Nicholas Fletcher, Syracuse University, with a piece titled Mujeres sin Voces, based on La Fuerza de la Sangre by Miguel de Cervantes. So please join me in a virtual applause. Many thanks to all of you for your exceptional work. All of these pieces, as Paula mentioned, are featured on our New Gold website for you to watch until the 27th. I have a hand up. Brian, did you want to say something? Or maybe it's just a virtual applause hand. Okay.
Sorry about that. I just meant to applaud.
That's okay. All right. So, and now our special mention. So we will have a moment now for each of these students or groups of students to talk a little bit about how this piece came about, and then we will move on to the winners. So our first special mention is Kylie Elizabeth Harley. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering people's names. Alexa Grace Reimer and Jensen B. from Syracuse University. Can you talk to us a little bit more about your piece, which was called La Investigación de Fuente Ovejuna?
Absolutely. So hi, my name is Alieska. My partners unfortunately couldn't be here today, but we were inspired to do this project by our professor, Dr. Agnes Mendez Oliver, specifically with the approach of this documentary podcast style presentation of Catch and Kill, that series on HBO Max. It's a series of interviews that looks into how investigating the other side of the open secret of Harvey Weinstein. And we found when we were reading Fuente Ovejuna and discussing in class, there was a lot of overlap of themes and characters and issues that are like still seen in the world today and in this world from the 1600s. So we decided to just investigate the other side, the people side of Fuente Ovejuna, like what did the people say in their experience with dealing with the comendador, with the unjust dictator, essentially ruling over the town. And so by writing it in this way and having essentially the interviewer be the long lost relative of Laurencia, who was abused within the play, it's a way of kind of like overcoming, superando, like all the oppression, all of the injustice that she in particular, but most of the women in this town had faced throughout this play, and how they can serve to inspire us beyond just the writing of Lope de Vega.
Thank you so much, Alieska, for sharing with us and for this amazing, as you say, podcast interview piece. It's a really interesting one. So that's available on the website as well for people who want to take a look. Next, we have Olivia Baston from St. Andrews University, or University of St. Andrews. Thank you so much for participating. Can you tell us a little bit about your piece, Beauty is in the Eye of the Beholder? Or maybe Olivia's not here. I thought I saw her in the list.
If
No,
Olivia is here, yeah, we can just maybe read the description from the website of her piece that she sent us.
Sure. Okay, so She says, having read Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes, I was intrigued by the two characters in particular. Those characters were Don Quixote himself and Dulcinea. My favorite passage was when um, Sancho Panza convinced Don Quixote that one of the ugly country girls was Dulcinea, and Don Quixote had to rescue her from this enchantment she had been put under. My art piece is inspired by double appearances and how beauty essentially is in the eye of the beholder. The piece will play with the binary of beauty and ugliness to draw on ideas of beauty standards and how appearances can be deceptive. And that piece as well will be available on the website. And our third special mention is Kathleen Berger from Arizona State University. Could you tell us a little bit about your piece, Amor Enséñame?
Yes, I think in order to give you an idea of how Joshua and I came up with this, I'd like to give just a little bit of background. I began a bachelor's degree in vocal performance at Arizona State University in 1989, but in 1994 I left without finishing. And 26 years later, after a singing career in opera and musical theater and zarzuela that took me to New York for 10 years and to Spain for 7, I came back to the university to complete a degree in Spanish because I had fallen in love with the culture and the language of Spain, as well as with a Spanish man who I married in 2011. So the classes were, of course, entirely online because of the pandemic, and the luck of the draw brought me to Professor Maria Dominguez's course, Foundational Texts of Spain. This was my first experience with pre-18th century Spanish literature, although I was already familiar with the genre in French and Italian, and it fascinated me. One of Professor Dominguez's great gifts is her ability to invent assignments that bring out our creativity. So late in the course, she assigned us to select a fragment from a work of a previously chosen author and create a textual version in modern Spanish and video record us performing it more or less as a monologue or in whatever way it appealed to us. And I'm an actor and a singer. So I was very interested in the female authors of the time, so selected El Muerto Disimulado by Angela de Azevedo. And it occurred to me that the piece would be more effective if sung. So I received her permission to create a musical piece and wrote a version of one of Lizarra's monologues and approached a young person with whom I've worked on stage many times and who actually at that time was living with us in our home, Joshua Verne. They are an immensely talented actor, singer, composer, stage manager, the most creative and fun babysitter for my twins I've ever found. And they very, very generously agreed to adapt my writing to music. And once we began, I found myself editing the phrasing and the rhythm of the syllables to be more conducive to musical performance. This was an absolutely new and exhilarating experience for me. I must thank Professor Dominguez with all of my heart because not only did she awaken my interest in this genre, but she broadened my horizons. I am so anxious to collaborate with Joshua again, as well as other current composers doing this kind of work. I'm going to start a master's degree in Romance languages with an emphasis in Spanish in the fall, and I'm hoping to do similar interdisciplinary creative projects throughout the course of the degree. I'm going to turn this over for just a moment, if I may, to Joshua, so that they can give you a feeling for how they put this wonderful music together, including the orchestration, in about 4 days.
Oh, thank you, Kathleen. Oh, wow. Nothing scares me more than being asked to describe my process. So I wrote some things down. When Kathleen initially asked me to compose for her, I didn't really give it a second thought. I'd done projects in the past where I would have like a 2-week block to write and orchestrate a 45-minute score within the given theme. And this was just kind of like a miniature version of that. So something about the time crunch just makes it fun for me, or I have an addiction to stress. But it was pretty easy for me to say yes to Kathleen's idea. I couldn't tell you what she was initially expecting to get back, but as far as I'm concerned, there's only one kind of music that you write for an opera singer, and that's opera. But I had never really written an aria before, so I was really excited to get to cut my teeth on that challenge. Finding a melody in the lyric was, it was the first hurdle, as well as I think being the greatest. And then the once I had figured that out, then the instrumentation really just kind of falls into place. You know, but finding a melody that's fun, that feels authentic to the genre, and also is learnable very quickly. That was the challenge. After the melody was done in notation software, I just switched over to my production software and got cracking on that. I knew I wanted a big, dramatic, sweeping instrumental, and I wanted to have as much control over instrument expression as possible. So I ended up sacrificing actually writing out, notating the music to have more time on the engineering and the production. But I'm incredibly proud of the result. So I just wanted to say thank you to Kathleen for trusting me with this and coming to me with it in the first place. And thank you to Our New Gold for this amazing recognition that I was not expecting to get out of a homework assignment.
All right, thank you so much to our special mention. Sorry, Paula. Don't forget, you can see all of the videos on the website. I will now turn it over to Paula to talk to our winners.
Many thanks to the creators of the special mentions. I think we should give them a virtual applause too. Well done, guys. And thank you for your introductions to your work. And now to our winners. So we are going to watch, we're going to do a little introduction, then we'll watch the videos, the actual creations, and then the creators will talk and introduce their work. So let's start with Wesley Ranger from Ohio Wesleyan University. The piece title is Ricardo's Mensaje, inspired by El Perro del Hortelano. And let me just read to you a quote from the jury, from the jury's feedback. An excellent and very timely piece. This adaptation is very effective, allowing the listener to really connect and understand these ideas of love in the context of love and respect for our earthly home. The social relevance of this piece is huge, delivered with delicious creativity and originality. Let's watch it.
The heart embodies the true meaning of love, a love so concrete and so specific that it resembles life's greatest difficulties and greatest triumphs. It is love which wants me to adore you. It is love which makes me ambitious to end up with you. Others find my ambition as impractical and impossible, but that is only to dishearten and discourage me from what will become my serenity. This woman is so beautiful, such a sight for sore eyes, she is everything. She has carefully articulated what some see as deception, but I see as the ideal of beauty, health, cheerfulness, and bliss. One would be ignorant and foolish to perceive her as deceptive, and their understanding has isolated them. If, as I own that land and rank to match, I ruled from where the sun most fiercely burns to where it nestles in Aurora's arms. Had I the gold which men worship in the west, the pearls from the south, the frozen tears of heaven and diamonds of the east, in quest of which one would scour the 7 seas, then all would be yours. I'd sail from the shores which scarcely see the sun, leaving my footprint in the sands of the remotest oceans, to reach at last your honor and love, the utmost limits of man's sovereignty. Madam, I come to accompany you and serve you. You, Deanna, are the joy of me, and if your reason does not contradict, then know, my love, to earn you would be my ultimate dream. I trust in you to see my righteousness with hope that your eyes are not blinded by malice. This is a love worth fighting for. You realize your purpose along the way, and my purpose is pure. Love is something which is paramount, and you never want to go a day without it. It is an unfamiliar yet familiar feeling. It is home. Love is a blindfold, which you choose to put on and only be guided by the heart. Love can be misconceived if you look only to take and not give. Love for the wrong reasons can cause destruction, but love for the right reasons can be beautiful. Love is a lesson that can be learned and taught. Love is a novel which one could read cover to cover without putting it down and lose themselves in the story. I give myself to you, knowing that you do the same.
Thank you very much, Wesley. Is Wesley with us today? Hello. Hello, Wesley. Congratulations. And would you like to tell us a little bit more about your work?
Yeah, sorry if it's laggy, my connection's a bit unstable, but I did write a bit down so I can share that with you guys. So to give it context a little bit more, this short story film was created as a final project in our class. It is a modern day adaptation inspired by Lope de Vega and El Perro del Hortelano. The extracted script used has been translated from Spanish to English. And originally these confessions were from Marqués Ricardo, a male character within the play, and were directed towards Diana, the main female character. Ricardo was obsessed with Diana, and most lines he exchanged with her were of him confessing his love. He would speak in a very grandiose tone because he felt self-important and that Diana would be foolish to fall in love with anyone else, especially someone that did not hold the same elite status as himself. Diana was royalty and belonged to the high social class, and this was the same case for Ricardo, therefore he felt they were meant to be together. The change within this story, however, is instead of these lines being directed to a person about how in love they are, the confessions are spoken from my perspective and projected to the environment, nature, sustainability, and the importance of protecting the natural world. This environmental representation is conveyed through colored drawings and compiled into a stop motion animation. As for the experience I had in working on the short films, it was one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had on a school-related assignment. I'm especially grateful to my fiance Victoria, her brother Jonathan, and my mother Christina in helping me work on crafting some of the text into imagery. An interesting aspect of this adaptation is how I let my perspective of love shape how the text and images would be portrayed, and this slightly differs from some of the lines within the text. It's not just a direct translation, but more of an interpretation of Lope's theme and combining my perception of love with his. A major consequence of this is that I realized just how meaningful and relevant these passages are in today's time, and not just in the time of Lope. My hope is that people, and especially students, will find creative ways to make projects and assignments meaningful to themselves and show their passions through school and work. Our personal experiences and understanding of the world and world problems are valuable, and we should share them with everyone we can. And I also want to thank Profesora Nieto for caring about her students, finding excitement in our capabilities, intelligence, and creativity. And thank you guys for watching.
Thank you very much. Well done, Wesley. Thank you so much for your presentation, and congratulations again for your beautiful work. And now on to our next winner, Milsa Maurtúa Salvador from Pontificia Universidad Católica de Perú. Piece title, Guilt, inspired by La Vida es Sueño Passion Play. And by Calderón de la Barca, of course, created by and featuring Milsa Martúa and filmed by Alec Nieto. Powerful, dark, and brooding piece, which successfully conveys the suffocating nature of both one's own guilt and society's collective guilt. The artistic value of this piece is very high. utilizing lighting, music, black symbolism, and projected imagery, creating an aesthetic of the shadow. Thank you very much. Another virtual applause for Milsa. Hello, Milsa, how are you? Well done. Congratulations on your amazing work. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about your project, Guild, your creation?
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for the opportunity. What captured my attention while I was reading the passion play David Sueño, was the character of the shadow, because of the things that are said about her and the relationship with death and guilt. That is why in this version, I refer to man's awareness of guilt and his acceptance as something intrinsic. And that is the aim of the creation. What is the feeling of guilt, or do we remember the first time when we felt it? I see guilt as a social construct, a responsibility that does not always belong to us, but it's necessary to learn to live with it. The creative process started with the analysis of the play I selected some fragments that show some characteristics of the shadow. Later, I started making questions to myself about specific situations that makes me feel guilty. I realized that sometimes it is because of my condition as a migrant, so I chose a characteristic that in some way can represent myself. For example, my skin color. This topic has a relation to the last picture where my hands and my face are covered by a dark substance. In the end, I think that it doesn't matter where we are from. The fact is that we must learn to live with the guilt that it is intrigues to us. I also think that it's important to denounce some aspects of our everyday life, like our inability to defeat death or to take care of our loved ones because of the distance. That is why we have a list of things I might feel guilty about and the repetition of men's monologue. We wanted to create a piece where we cannot identify the place or the context where the action takes place, like a nightmare where we face a weird figure that we cannot recognize, but it changed something in our body. It has the power to modify us, just like pain or guilt. Besides, we work with a specific color palette to show the power of guilt and how, in the end, we must learn how to live with it. And finally, we select that music to create the atmosphere, the nightmare. So I believe that, as I said in the video, that we must be proud of our guilt in order to create. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Milsa. Another applause for you. Thank you for a wonderful work and for being here today. And now we're gonna present the next winner today, our third winner, Elizabeth Somoza and Wyatt Wells. They're coming from Ohio Wesleyan University. The piece title, Laurencio en Liceo Exposed, inspired by La Dama Boba by Lope de Vega. And let me read you a quote from our jury about this work. This piece stuck with me for days. It had the qualities of then and now, a mix of social media and Jane Austen. The concept of a vlog was clever and the production was well done, but it was Somoza's acting that did it for me. That was a great comment. And now let's watch the video. Enjoy it.
I just finished reading this story, one of heartbreak and betrayal, of romance and family and greed, and it made me think. No one really knows others, do they? The men you think are honorable abandon you at the sight of $1. He knew I've never had the most profitable of aspirations. I have always been content with my stories and my writing. Sure, there may be a chance for fame, but that is not why I do it. He has known me and my family for quite some time. Said he valued our discussions over poetry or books or world events. And yet he says he's no longer interested in me. Not even as a friend. I understand that my sister would lead him to greater fortune and success. And I am glad that he can finally see past her idiocy. She's really quite smart. Her areas of expertise are just with other things like graphic design or editing. Heaven knows I would never be able to work my way around figuring out software or editing these videos. So like I say every video, thank you, Fina, for all of your help. I couldn't do this without you. So I went to go confront Laurencio today because I had enough. And instead of just talking to me like a decent person, he tries to run and throws that other guy in front of him, the one my father wants to marry Finea. I know I've talked about him before. That guy, Liceo. He's been trying to corner me for a while, and I always ignore him. I mean, look at these messages he sent me. Can you blame me? I mean, first of all, insulting my sister is not the way to my heart. Second of all, what about what I want? I mean, I do not even know him, nor does he know me. What makes him think that we would be good together? Just that he thinks he can use my strength and intelligence to his advantage? That I am only valuable because he sees how he can gain from me? He has never once paid attention to my desires and hopes for the future. Can he even tell me what my favorite book is? I mean, listen, if I had to marry someone, it would be one of my best friends, Eduardo or Feniso. They make me laugh. They respect me. We read the same things, and maybe it would give them a chance to be happy. I do not have to have any romantic relationship, and they can keep the special one they have. Win-win, you know? I know my father wants this, needs this, and I want to make him proud, but I cannot. I cannot do this. I am proud of Finea for knowing what she wants and going for it, but I know what I want. And I'm not going to marry anyone. I will feel safe and comfortable without depending on anyone to provide for me. I want to feel in control of my life for once when everything tries to get me to fall apart. Fine, end it here. I'm sorry.
Well done. Thank you so much. Elizabeth, are you here?
Yes,
Would
hi.
you like to tell us? Hi, hello, how are you? Would you like to tell us a little bit more about your piece? Thank you. Well
Yes,
done.
absolutely. So this piece was done as a final project, just like Wesley's was. But when I was reading La Dama Boba, something that struck me initially was Nisa's character. She's a very independent woman and she's very intelligent. And from the get-go, she's portrayed as a very modern woman to me. But as the play progresses and we follow Finea's relationship with Laurencio, I noticed that Nise became more dependent on the men, it seemed. And suddenly her relationship seemed to be framed in a way that countered how she initially was portrayed. And so when I specifically read a scene where she is talking to Laurencio and Liceo is in front of him and he thinks that her words of confession are towards him, to me, it felt like a very humiliating moment for her. And that kind of struck me as very counter to the strength that she had in the beginning of the play. And so I wanted to specifically sort of rewrite that moment and have a sort of explanation of maybe today she wouldn't even want to get married. Maybe she would have had a different point of view about marriage. But as so happens today, sometimes a man might not like to hear that. And so it might be her way of countering the rumors that have started about her. And so when I was thinking about wanting to do that, I chose a vlog style because social media is, I mean, it's a part of our culture now, but vlogs specifically are something that I watch a lot. I make vlogs sometimes. So it was a structure and a creative thing that I have done in my life. So it's my strength. And acting is also my strength. I'm a theater major. And so I figured I'll write a monologue. I'll do it in a style that is very familiar to me. And the pieces sort of started to fall together as I did that. And I'm very proud of what ended up happening. But thank you, Prof. Nieto, for allowing me to do that. It was very fun. I very much appreciate the space to kind of play off my creative strengths in an academic setting.
Thank you so much. Thank you. A big applause. And it's such a reward for us to hear that and to hear that you enjoyed it and it was a good experience and it was, you know, a different experience for you. Thank you so much. And now into our next winner, Catherine Page from Bowdoin College. Piece titled Los Burladores de Bowdoin College. Inspired by El Burlador de Sevilla. This is what the jury said. The use of the story to speak about a current issue is bold and clear. The choices of theme are brave and relevant. The style and the rhythm are simple yet intriguing and captivating. The use of the camera and sound sets a clear tone and it's unsettling, giving us space to reflect and challenging the sense of entertainment usually used in online videos. Now let's watch the video and then we'll hear Catherine.
Don Juan, El Burlador de Sevilla, is on my college campus. They are on your college campus. They are the men's hockey team. They made the freshman players send a Christmas party invitation to every woman they wanted to hook up with. That night, the upperclassmen gathered in the lit-up basement to watch their freshmen stumble into the arms of women, making women uncomfortable and confused as a form of team initiation. Don Juans are on my college campus. They clump together like schools of fish and force themselves forward without a second thought. They swarm over my head like drunken turkey vultures. When she mutters to him, "What are you doing?" Don Juan breathlessly explains his good intentions to her. Escucha y sabrás, si quieres que te lo diga, la verdad, que las mujeres sois de verdades amigas. Yo soy noble caballero, cabeza de la familia de los Tenorios, antiguos ganadores de Sevilla. Mi padre, después del rey, se reverencia y estima, y en la corte de sus labios pende la muerte o la vida. Corriendo al camino acaso, llegué a verte, que amor guía tal vez las cosas de suerte, que el mismo día se admira. Vite, adorete, abracéme tanto, que tu amor me anima a que contigo me case. Mira qué acción tan precisa. Y aunque lo murmure el reino, y aunque el rey lo contradiga, y aunque mi padre enojado con las manzanas lo impida, tu esposo tengo que ser. ¿Qué dices? She didn't owe him anything, but he didn't care. And now she feels gross. She can't get rid of that gross feeling, and she hates it. Hi. is Catherine Page. I am a biology major and Hispanic Studies minor at Bowdoin College in Maine, and my awesome mentor is Margaret Boyle. So my short film aims to make the connection between Tirso de Molina's Don Juan and men's college sports teams in the US. Don Juan manipulates women for his own pleasure and entertainment, and so I think he can be compared to male college athletes in the way that they behave toward women on campus. In my video, I describe a Christmas party that men's sports teams hold, or a singular men's sports team holds every year on my campus, where the underclassmen are encouraged to make a list of first-year women that they aim to hook up with as kind of like almost a game, and the upperclassmen have the expectation that their first years are going to hook up with these people on the list. So this event, obviously, it reinforces the objectification of women and it normalizes predation at parties. Further, it makes women who don't get the invitation to feel unwanted and undesirable, and the women who are invited may feel a sense of male validation that's toxic and pits themselves against other women. I use a monologue by Don Juan from El Bulador de Sevilla to mimic a hockey player's drunken attempt to seduce a woman at a party. And then I follow the monologue with clips of me walking by myself on campus, filled with uncomfortable thoughts and feelings that just won't go away. So I have a recording of the sounds of people talking as I walk by, but it's kind of just drowned out by my own thoughts. And so I just am aiming to center the long-lasting impact that the toxic behavior of college male athletes on campus tend to have on women. And through these comparisons to El Bulador de Sevilla, I emphasize how even the smallest or quickest uncomfortable interactions can be traumatic and permanently damaging. So I'm super thankful that I was selected and that you all get to watch. So thank you so much.
Thank you
She
so much.
actually is here.
She
She
is,
wasn't sure if she was able to stick around this long, so I played the video. But Catherine, do you want to say anything?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, hi. So I'm currently on the road. That's why I sent in a video. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So for safety reasons, obviously, I'm just listening in today. But yes, I'm really happy to be here. It's been great. I can't wait to watch them and actually see the visuals later. But yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Catherine. And thank you for bringing such a relevant subject and such a brave work. Well done. And now into our next winner, Sarah Gillink from Navarra University. The piece is called Me and Her, and is inspired by Rosaura, a project by Teatro Inverso, based on La Vida es Sueño by Calderón de la Barca, and co-written with Monty Almoro. So let me just read a little quote from our jury about this work. We are taken by the image of her in that empty space, reflecting. The delivery of the words is clear, making complex reflections come through. And now let's watch the video.
Women know this. We struggle to be seen. We all know what it's like for someone not to ask, to say something intimidating or creepy or forward, or to be treated like we don't have a brain or opinions or even feelings. And just the ways that we feel about ourselves too. I mean, trying to be perfect, trying to fit into these ridiculous standards that none of us fit into, and wondering why it matters and then still doing it anyway. And just, I mean, eventually working on ourselves for ourselves, right? Like, we get to this point of growth where we're beginning to gain our own approval. And that's where something changes. Maybe Rosaura's long speech at the end is, in a way, her beginning to gain her own approval. She's bearing herself to Sigismundo unashamedly. After this whole journey of the search for self-identity is culminating here. Mujer quiero ser. eso es mi deshonra, pues mujer no soy. Ni hombre, soy bestia, soy ira, soy sombra. Woman I want to be, to my shame, for woman I am not, nor man. I am a beast, I am shadow, I am rage. Burning in my heart is a fire longing for its shape. Where is my courage? Where is my sword? How much fear? How much love fits in my soul?
Thank you so much, Sarah. Big applause for you. Well done. Wonderful work. Thank you. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Really well. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about this beautiful piece?
Sure. I'd like to give some background context for it first. This project started a lot long before April when I recorded it. It started, well, more than 2 years ago, but I have to give shout outs to Montiel Moro, who's my friend and classmate, who we were working on our senior project for the theater major together, a senior capstone project, which through a grant with Dr. Nieto, we worked with Sandra Arpa and Paulo Rodriguez to adapt La Vida y Sueño, inspired by Rosaura, the adaptation from Teatro Inverso. And so this was going to be our senior project. It was our senior project. We did workshops with Teatro Inverso, and they had, we had to journal after these workshops to gather our thoughts and try to answer questions about what do we want to show our audience. And most of the text in this monologue is actually taken from one of my journal entries, which I was not writing to present it to an audience. I was writing it to deal with these themes and figure out sort of the connections that I wanted to bring out in the character. And so it wasn't supposed to be for a public eye, but then we decided that it worked really well in that way. And so it was something I did not expect to share with the world, but something that ended up happening. Although the show never opened because it was scheduled to open at the end of March 2020. So that was our senior semester or last semester at Ohio Wesleyan. And so looking back at this piece now, I was really surprised at how far away it felt, how disconnected I felt from what I had written all those years ago, because I had really written it a year before in the workshop, so it's been quite some time. But it made me reflect a lot on personal growth, how I've grown as an academic, an artist, a person in my queer identity, everything. And I was trying to figure out how to bring this closer to me now because it feels like a younger version of myself. And so that's why I kind of recorded it instead of presenting it as me talking to an audience full of people, as if I were talking to one person in the room with me. So it felt more intimate, so I could bring it closer to where I was when I wrote it. So thank you for letting it have some life again.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and congratulations. Well done. And now into our next winner, Yazarey Bazaldua from Texas Tech University. Here we go.
So sorry, I would like to also mention that my partner was part of this too, Jessica Maya.
Wonderful. Is that Yazarey speaking?
Yes.
Hello, Yazarey. That's noted. Perfect. Let's say that the piece title is El Coloquio de los Perros, and that is inspired by El Coloquio de los Perros by Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. And let's read a little note from the jury that says, great adaptation of a timeless topic. Yazarey poses vital questions and criticisms of the institution, excellent production of video and music. And let's watch the video now, the piece, and then we'll talk with Yazarey. Thank you so much.
Cipión, hermano, óyete hablar y sé que te hablo, y no puedo creerlo, por parecerme que el hablar nosotros pasa de los términos de naturaleza.
Así es la verdad, Berganza, y viene a ser mayor este milagro, en que no solamente hablamos, sino que hablamos con discurso, como si fuéramos capaces de razón, estando tan sin ella, que la diferencia que hay del animal bruto al hombre es ser el hombre animal racional y el bruto irracional. Sea esa la manera, Berganza, amigo, que esta noche me cuentes tu vida, porque mejor será gastar el tiempo en contar las propias que en procurar saber las ajenas vidas. Echemos pelillos al mar, como dicen los muchachos, y no murmuremos. Cuéntame lo que pasó con los hijos del mercader, tu amo. Iban al estudio de la compañía de Jesús.
Digo que los hijos de mi amo se dejaron un día un cartapacio en el patio donde yo a la sazón estaba y fuime tras ellos con intención de no soltarle hasta el estudio. Lleguéme al mayor de mis amos y a mi parecer, con mucha crianza se lo puse en las manos y quedéme sentado en cuclillas a la puerta del aula mirando de hito en hito a la maestra que en la cátedra leía. No sé qué tiene la virtud que con alcanzárseme a mí tampoco o nada de ella, luego recibí gusto de ver el amor, el término, la solicitud y la industria con que aquellos benditos padres y maestros enseñaban a aquellos niños, enderezando las tiernas varas de su juventud, porque no se torciesen ni tomasen mal siniestro en el camino de la virtud, que juntamente con las letras les mostraban. Consideraba cómo lo reñían con suavidad, los castigaban con misericordia, los animaban con ejemplos, los incitaban con premios y los sobrellevaban con cordura. Y, finalmente, cómo les pintaban la fealdad y horror de los vicios y les dibujaban la hermosura de las virtudes, para que, aborrecidos ellos y amadas ellas, consiguiesen el fin para que fueron criados.
Muy bien dices, Berganza, porque yo he oído decir de esa bendita gente que para repúblicos del mundo no los hay tan prudentes en todo él, y para guiadores y adalides del camino del cielo. Pocos les llegan, son espejos donde se mira la honestidad, la católica doctrina, la singular prudencia y finalmente la humildad profunda, basa sobre quien se levanta todo el edificio de la bienaventuranza.
Todo es así como lo dices.
A big applause for Yazarey. And would you like to tell us a little bit more about your work, about your piece?
Absolutely. First, I'd like to say, wow, everyone's projects are amazing. And thank you so much for the opportunity. So as far as our process, Jessica and I were also doing this as part of a final presentation or project for class. And as we went through the semester, we read different writings of Cervantes, and we came across this story, and we just kept going back to this story and going back to the story. And she mentioned, my friend mentioned that every time that we go back to this story, we get something new out of it. And when Dr. Boustarian gave us this opportunity and shared this with us, we thought, okay, how are we going to interpret this? Well, let's see. First things first, these two dogs are talking. Okay, well, cool. I have these two doggies, so we had them be our actors, and of course you can tell their personalities are so different. One can run around no problem and he'll come back. And as far as the environment, the scenery that we chose to use as the background, the story is based in Sevilla, Spain. So our campus, the architecture is inspired by Spanish architecture. So we chose to film in different locations on our campus at Texas Tech University for that reason. And finally, with the aspect of the music, it was just something that, well, I've played the violin since I was younger. So it was something that we kind of used different inspiration as far as music based in Sevilla, or some different medieval music that we could find, or Renaissance music, just older music in general. So that was kind of how we interpreted that. And it was just such a great experience and such a fun way to be creative and do something for class as well as participate in something so great like this.
Thank you so much. Another applause for you. And now into our last winner today, Catherine DeJulius from Ohio Wesleyan University. Here we go. Piece title, De Despedidas y Nuevos Comienzos, inspired by La Dama Boba. Here's a quote from our jury. This is a beautifully edited, well-written piece. I found it to be engaging, concise, and well executed. Word choice was really on point, connecting the adaptation to the current context and the original text.
By the time you find this letter, I will have already left. I don't know yet where my destination lies. I only know that I must leave. I've rewritten this letter over and over, pondering the lines of the script, trying to find the right words to convey what I want to say to you, to all of you. I am still unable to find them, the words to describe what I feel, but I think the following will suffice. From my own observations, it is clear that you have decided what a woman should be, and thus what I should be, without even thinking to ever consult with me. Elegance without arrogance, intelligence without application, galliance without ambition, discreet, never seen, never known. What a pathetic image this makes! How could such a mold fit any reasonable person? Even more so, why must women conform to such absurd expectations when such arrogance, such ambition is praised in our male counterparts? How deep is this comfortable lie that you spin for yourself? What hypocrisy you live by! Yet, even so, my entire life, I have strived to be the perfect daughter. I had hoped that if I did what I was told, learned the appropriate material, exceeded your ridiculous expectations, it would be enough. I would be enough. But now I see that nothing I do, no version of myself will ever fit your ideals. For how could I? I am brash and arrogant, blunt and condescending, intelligent and unafraid to boast of my own academic prowess. It scares you, doesn't it? That I refuse to fit within your narrow understanding of who or what I should be? That I refuse to be an elegant, discreet doll for your own boasting? I want to be clear. This letter is not meant for your consolation, nor your comfort. I write to give myself solace, to try and reach some form of closure. It has taken me years to admit this, but I will never be enough, will I? You've never seen me, never cared enough to see me. All you care about is how well I fit within the expectations that you have set. Therefore, I refuse to live solely to meet your standards. I want to discover myself, for myself. because I am more than just what you want to make of me. I am part of this world as an individual, not just as your doll. So this is my final farewell, because you'll never see, and you don't deserve to see, who I become.
Thank you so much for bringing such a powerful piece. Would you like to tell us about your creative process and about your work?
Yeah, definitely. First, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone and to the jury for selecting me. It means a lot. And I'd also like to give a huge thank you to Profe Nieto. This was a final project for her class, but I really love how she structured it, and she gave us a lot of like openness to work with the material, which like led to the creation of my video because I had a lot of space to work with what I wanted to. So huge thank you to her. And yeah, so this piece really formed out of a desire to explore the character of Nisei from La Dama Boba. And mainly it was born out of a lot of frustration on my part with how she was treated throughout the play. I thought when she was first introduced, she was such a wonderful character with this like multifaceted personality. You know, she is strong and independent, intelligent, beautiful, but she's also like brash and arrogant and like blunt and condescending at times. And she just felt really real, which was fascinating because, you know, we're more than just all these strengths. We have our flaws, and she felt like a flawed character, but just so real and so fascinating. But by the end of the work, I felt like she was reduced to just someone to be married off. Like to reach this happy ending, she had to be married off. And so in this video, this is the basis which I created the video. I wanted to really imagine how Nisei would feel, and like her thoughts after the fact, like after everything that went on in the play, what is she really feeling? Because I didn't necessarily believe that she was suddenly in love with Liceo and okay with being married. And since she wasn't given the opportunity in the original text, I had to do some more creative writing on my end to make this happen. And I really wanted to like convey a message throughout for Nisei's monologue coming from a place of like pain and hurt, because it felt like everybody that she cared about throughout the play never really showed that same care back. Like her father had all these unrealistic expectations, and it felt like her sister Finea just never really supported her, and it just felt like their relationship wasn't as strong, and it felt like Nisei was kind of on her own. And I also imagine Nisei as someone who just dedicated herself to her father and society's expectations, but that was never enough. She was too beautiful. She was too independent. And even though those were the traits that society wanted her to have, it was too much because she was outspoken and she would actually use her intelligence instead of just getting the education and then being happily married off. You know, she wanted more than that. So I really wanted to show like how she was dealing with those emotions at the time. And then just on the visual aspect, you know, her interacting with nature around her is meant to display kind of a sense of physicality, you know, that she's like part of the world around her and does not solely exist to meet expectations put upon her by others. You know, images of nature, at least to me, demonstrate how the world just kind of around us simply exists just to be. There's no expectations on it. It's nature, which contrasts with all the human anxieties that Nisei is confronting throughout the piece. And the first person point of view was really just giving Nisei the opportunity to actually step into herself as she's viewing the world. I originally imagined it as someone videoing me as Nisei, like moving throughout, but I decided to go first person because I thought it would be cooler. You never really see her, but you get to see her interact with things. And yeah, that's really where it kind of wore out, where it came from, and what I wanted it to do.
Well done, Catherine. Thank you so much for your work and for this introduction. Another amazing applause for you. And a big, massive applause for all of the participants and winners and special mentions and finalists. Everyone was playing a very special part in this festival. I just would like to remind you that if you wish to see these videos again and we have all the participants hosted in our website. So you could just go to this address and find the page Festival 2022, and there you will be able to see all of this year's entries. I'm gonna pass it to Erin so she can give you a little bit of information about what's next.
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone. Everyone's videos were so interesting to watch. So if you haven't seen them all, please or you want to see them again, go to the website. Today, of course, June 20th is our premiere, and we will be continuing to host the videos for at least a week on the website. A workshop will be made available to all participants via Zoom with Paula as an artist and creator to talk about, if you want to take next steps, how you could maybe potentially do something more with this, things like that. We're anticipating that being at the end of July, but we will confirm more details on that very soon. And then on July 4th, for those of you who will be there in person in Almagro, we will be screening the videos at the annual Association for Hispanic Classical Theater conference, which will finally again take place in person, but in Almagro in conjunction with the International Classical Theater Festival that happens there. So thank you all very much. Paula, do you just want to give us any more information about anything?
I think you've covered all the information of all that is to come. And I just want to say thank you again to all of our participants, our mentors, and to everyone that has been involved in the creation of this festival, which it's very special for us that we made it happen and that you're here and you made it happen with your work and your participation. And today is just the start of we hope what is going to be a long journey. So thank you all very much, and we're going to see you online at the workshop. We will confirm the date very soon, and we'll see you live. Some of you will be at Almagro, so we're really looking forward to seeing you there also. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye, Milsa.